So there's a lot of hype around vibe coding, and rightfully so. But a thing that's important for you to remember is that AI is just a tool. It's not here to replace you. And with that in mind, really what you want to be doing with your vibe coding is being able to vibe code from your essence. Vibe coding from the way that you are uniquely designed, from the uniqueness of your taste, your desire, the movement that you're here to lead. And now a thing that you want to be careful of, especially as a rebel leader, someone who's thinking differently, someone who's maybe more sensitive, someone who's seeing the world in a different way, right? You've likely spent a lot of your life suppressing yourself, letting someone else speak for you or looking externally for permission. And you don't want to have that same relationship with AI. Now, a lot of people are talking about AI slop from an understanding that, hey, we can tell that this is AI. But there's another level of AI slop, which is the AI that doesn't recognize the source of you, doesn't recognize the signal of you. And that is even deeper than just how it appears visually, right? There's a part of you that gets lost when you're not able to alchemize, create, express, do these things that you are here to do. And so the big thing that I want to focus on today is, how do we allow AI to amplify our essence when we are vibe coding? Whether you're making an app, whether you are making a landing page, a funnel, things like that. And really there's two steps to this process. The first step is really seeing yourself, and then the next step from that is being able to take assets that AI is able to help you create from that process of seeing yourself, and then applying those assets in the different places that you are creating, whether it's, you're creating an app or some other utility that you're creating from, right? And so this is going to look specifically like being able to create a breakdown, something I call the Alchemist Blueprint, a breakdown of who you are as a creator. And then from there, you'll be able to have a brand kit. So this will be something that will allow you to get really clear on, hey, the colors, the typography, the usage, the things that are effective for you that aren't as effective for you, right? And in addition to that, you'll be able to have more like a mood board type of thing. And this is something that's really the use case is, yes, you'll be able to apply this to wherever you're vibe coding, but beyond that, it's going to be something that can give you more permission to see yourself in a different light, right? To see yourself in your boldness, in your audacity, in your uniqueness, etc., and really can be a powerful part of the unmasking process. Okay, so we're going to get into it. And one important thing to understand is that God already gave you a map, right? And so a lot of the way people are talking about AI these days, they're like, hey, AI is going to give you the truth, or it's going to give you, we're putting the AI like in front of us. But it's like, no, we already have these things pouring through us, and the pattern nature of the universe has already disclosed exactly the things that you're drawn to. And you see it, like there's certain things that you see, whether it's a brand, whether it's a creator, whether it's a color, a specific vibe, or you're just like, ooh, this feels good, this feels like home, this feels really resonant. That's what we want to create for you, and also for the people that you are meant to lead. Okay, and so with your natal chart, and this is built into the Alchemist Blueprint app, which I'm going to show you in a second, because you're just going to be able to put your details in. But the big thing to understand is that when we think about a brand, right, we're thinking, a lot of people stop at the voice, right? A lot of people stop at the look, right? But we really want to think about this in terms of 5 phases, right? The look, the voice, the mission, the advantages that you have in sales, as well as the soul. And the beautiful part is that your natal chart, right? These parts of your natal chart here are already communicating this stuff, right? They're already giving you guidance, right? And so that guidance is reflected back to you in the world, but a lot of times people will take a lot of time to figure this out. But if we use this map, then this information already is there for us, and we can really take advantage of it. And when we can give this context, this level of prompting to AI, what we're able to create is next level, right? And then not just for yourself, right? These are things that you can also consider for your clients as well, or just for other people that you might be helping in the world. Okay, so you'll see a link to the Alchemist Blueprint app in the description of this video. And once you go in, you'll be able to plug in your data. I, plugged in some of my data. That's not actually my birth time, but that is my birthday though, if you want to send me a gift. But what you're going to do is you're going to plug in your data. You're going to go click then generate my blueprint, and you're going to get this really amazing blueprint, right? It's going to give you insights about the look, the specific colors that might work for you, and how they might feel, right? Specific typography that can work with you for you, and the explanation of why, right? And this first part is really for you to really be able to understand yourself through the lens of permission. I never want you to use this stuff to put yourself in a box. I want you to use this stuff to give yourself more permission to actually be who you are and to double down on your strength, because often the things that are most obvious to us are things that we can really overlook in ourselves. And especially if you are someone who has felt like you have, had this people pleasing or just like self-sacrificing conditioning that you've had to survive, which is a lot of my story, you can overlook yourself. You can suppress your stuff. You can second guess. You can gaslight yourself, right? And so this is really brilliant at being able to help you really own more of your gifts. Specifically, the look, the voice, the things that I spoke about earlier, the mission, the sales advantages, the soul. Now, what I want to encourage you to do is take all these as suggestions and take what resonates. Now, for me, you'll see the actual colors that I have. I didn't love this blue color as much. So I was able to chat with AI and get some alternatives. So that's always a possibility. And you'll see even my text is a little different, but this can be a really great baseline for you to really feel into what feels good, right? The mission and more than anything, a lot of these words can be applied to your vibe coding, right? Hey, I want to create a landing page and I want to have these feels, these types of things. So that takes us to the next step, right? So this is more of an image generation prompt, and my suggestion here is to plug it into Nano Banana, right? So you can take the prompt and you can plug it into Nano Banana, and what that will do is it will give you sort of like a mood board of this really aligned, powerful version of you, right? And I showed you a preview of mine, and I'll show you, a little bit more of that process. And then the brand kit and the guide for the vibe coding is here up next. You see this first one is more so for the brand kit. And so this is going to make it so that you are really aligned, your team is really aligned, right? You're able to have the same colors, the same fonts, the same typography, the same all of this across your, different assets, different, across the different things that you create. And then when it comes to the vibe coding, once again, you'll be able to have a lot of these things from the visuals of the brand kit, but it also is taking a lot of the language from up here, right? So when you think about, hey, how is the copy for my specific brand voice? How is the how do I want things to look? How do I want things to feel when I think about the space, the borders, things like that? Are my headlines more bold, or are they, less bold, right? So a lot of these things you'll be able to see in other creators what resonates, but this is kind of a shortcut so you can have a baseline of like, okay, this feels good to me. So instead of just going to AI and say, hey, make me this website, you can go to AI and plug in this prompt and say, hey, this is kind of more of the vibe that I'm looking for, right? And so I'll show you, from here what we can do with this. And so Nano Banana, for those of you that don't know, Nano Banana is Google's AI, right? It's a part of Google's AI, it's the image generation, and it's really like top of the line for image generation, right? And so they give you a lot of free tokens as well. So I would really recommend starting with that. And so what you could do, right, we could take the prompt, both of the prompts, right? Specifically the prompt for the mood board. You can copy the prompt and paste it into Nano Banana. And then copy the brand kit one, but I would start with the copying more so the top one. The second one is more so for building landing pages, code, things like that. You can consider this. But copy the second one so you can have a brand kit, an asset that you can use, share with your team, and just visually have a better understanding for yourself, right? And so when I did that for myself, some of the assets that were created, I'll share actually the first go around. This was kind of like the first go round of one of the first go rounds of what I got, which I thought was really incredible. I'm a black man though, so it was like, give me like black people. As if with my fellow people of color, you probably will have to do that to see yourself represented. But nonetheless, this, it really gave me a vibe of, just who I am. There's this directness, but there's also this futurism, and it feels, I would describe my vibe as having like there's like some Virgil Abloh essences mixed with some like Kobe Bryant energy. But either way, this felt really empowering to me, for me to be able to own more of my just my uniqueness, my visual identity. And then this was another version when I said, hey, can you have like the humans be black? This is what we got. And it really does feel like the energy that is me, it feels really cool, it feels really polished, it feels really clear. Now my color palette and the fonts, I actually went back and forth with AI a bit, so you can just take what you get, in this case, and work with that. But for me, I wasn't feeling the blue as much, so I was able to, based on my astrology, find some alternatives that I felt worked well for me. And so I'm going to share with you the parts of your chart that, I already shared in the video, the parts of your chart that are really relevant for, visuals and things like that. So you can leverage that if you want to talk to AI and say if you want to update any of those things. And, the actual app that you'll be using, the Alchemist Blueprint, is an example of how you're able to use this stuff. Just the feel of everything, right, is derived from my essence, basically, right, from a lot of the parts of the brand that we were able to pull from my natal chart. So I'm not guessing, I'm not having it create me something that feels super generic. I'm having it create something that feels like me and that is able to amplify more of me. So in the description, you'll see a link to Alchemist Blueprint so you can test it out for yourself and be able to really vibe code from your essence. And if you are feeling called to go deeper, to really build out the assets for your brand, for your movement, and get more guidance on that, really being able to build out your world, build out your funnels, have the clarity on your movement, and also having the spiritual connection so that you can build from love and faith and from your truth, right? Rather than building from a mask or from fear. If any of that resonates with you and you feel called for more of my guidance in that, then you'll also see a link to message me on Instagram where we can chat more about some of the options that I have to be able to do that work together. All right, stay blessed, and I will talk to you soon.